It's the Bitcoin Capitalist Show, and we got Adriano from Argentina right now, and you can find him at DCA_Bitcoin on Instagram and all the socials. So what's up, man?
Thank you, Travis, for having me here. It's a pleasure to be in your podcast, show, whatever.
So I met Adriano on my first trip to Buenos Aires. We had a mutual friend from Panama. He's into Bitcoin. He's one of the hosts on a Spanish Bitcoin podcast. What's the name of it? I'll butcher the name.
It's in Spanish is de cero a Bitcoin. That it means in English from zero to Bitcoin.
Okay. So let's just get into it. What is going on in Argentina? You guys got 100% inflation. But like as a foreigner, when I was going there, I'm like, oh man, I'm nervous. There's going to be a lot of crime. It's going to be dangerous. And then I get there and it's business as usual. The only thing like that was different was like you don't use your credit card because you pay the government rate on the credit card on purchase. You're paying more money. So like what I did is I exchanged cash on the black market, and black market sounds bad, but pretty much any store you go to will exchange, dollars for, the currency, and everything's kind of normal there. And my question to you as, a local, why, is it just so calm, keep calm, walk, with 100% inflation? Because if that 100% inflation was in America, we'd be tearing each other apart. So what do you attribute that to?
Well, too much things to say. First of all, 100% inflation per year is a crime for me, in my opinion. I mean, it's incredible how people with 100% inflation, we are not in a chaos. This is because of the politics we have. But I mean, I can say that in Buenos Aires City, that you've been in Buenos Aires City, is like an I like to say that it's like an oasis. It's safe, it's secure. But if you go outside the city, we call it the conurbano, the Buenos Aires, the outside part of Buenos Aires. It's really dangerous.
Really? Okay. So I didn't know that. So you think they kind of have their own ecosystem because there's a lot of dollars flowing in there from tourism, but in the outskirts, there's not, foreign currency flowing, and the problems are more prevalent. Okay.
Yeah, and well, we here in Argentina, Argentinians love the dollars. U.S. dollars for us are like it's real money.
Yeah.
We are like, oh, dollars. That's why we like tourists to come in and spend their dollars.
Now, I have another theory. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys have experienced massive currency devaluation previously in your history, and do you think because of that people, it's not too far off in history that you guys had a currency, a default, I don't know when the date was, but not too long ago, and people
2001,
this is a normal thing, they've experienced it and they're not freaking out over it?
It happened in 2001. What you are talking about, that we have 1 peso, $1, like was the exchange, and from one day to another, the peso devaluates like 100%. There were like a lot of chaos, crime, people were killed, was really sad. And that's why, the banks took the money of the people, like from one day to another. They say you cannot retire your money from the bank. That's crazy.
You know what? That's going to be happening worldwide once these banks start going. Once you deposit, your money in the bank, it's the bank's money. It's not, your money. And Bitcoin's the only thing you actually really own, I believe. Now, why is Bitcoin adoption so miserable in Argentina when you have 100% inflation and everyone looks at it? It should be the perfect case study for people adopting Bitcoin. But, I was down there. I saw a couple of ATMs. It just wasn't prevalent like I thought it would be, in a country having a currency crisis.
Well, I'm not so agree with that, Travis, because paradoxically, living in Argentina, for me, it makes me to get into Bitcoin more faster maybe than a Swedish, a Norwegian that is comfortable with their fiat system. Less inflation, the government's work, or the politics works okay, or works better than ours. But in Argentina, it's one of the one of the countries that has more people getting into Bitcoin.
Okay.
Of course, the adoption is like step by step, but here our generations, like Bitcoin because of this. Bitcoin is a neutral money, and here in Argentina we know that we cannot give us the money to the banks, to the governments, because they will destroy our money. They will destroy our energy, because I think money is energy, at least, and that's why there are a lot of Bitcoiners here, not only in Buenos Aires but all over Argentina.
Well, would you say the masses right now are they're running to the dollar right now? So like, hey, they don't want to be in their currency; they're running to the dollar. And then what I think is going to happen is people are going to run out of the dollar into Bitcoin. But right now, dollar's cleanest dirty shirt. It's easy, it's liquid, it's easy for them to use. Where Bitcoin still needs more adoption and acceptance in a lot of places. So I think it's the path of least resistance. So I think a lot of people are kind of just running to the dollar down there. And it's interesting. Like, I listened to the thing Michael Saylor said like a year ago, and a lot of people disagreed with it, but it's becoming true. Is he says the dollar and the Bitcoin are expanding together. So I've traveled a lot in Central and South America, and it's completely correct, because these local currencies are crashing against the dollar, and people want dollars and they want Bitcoin. So the dollar's market share is actually, expanding. And we talk a lot about these deals China's making with Brazil, and people are dumping the dollar. But at the same time, like the yuan's like less than 1%, like 2% of global trade right now. Like, it would have to go a long way, which it could, and it could happen rapidly. But, when the dollar is going up and everything's based off the dollar, all these other currencies are crashing. All these people are jumping into the dollar. So like, maybe their evil genius is by the dollar adoption's actually expanding right now in that region.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. People do not save yuan Chinese.
No one uses
They don't
it.
save rubles, Russian rubles. They save they save in dollars, US dollars. So we are like made the tough work here, no? Like United States print a lot of money, or now it's digital.
I'm a gold and silver investor and believer, but it's like, you live in those countries, there's not gold and silver stores everywhere where you can just go purchase this. It's kind of for, the 1%, the wealthy people that have access to it. It's not prevalent. It's not accessible, like Bitcoin is for everyone. Anyone can download an app and have access to, Bitcoin, or gold and silver. It's not big enough, right? There's not stores. It's not liquid enough. You can't just go to a store and sell your gold, right? So a lot of my followers, a lot of people are very interested in maybe getting, permanent residency in Argentina and moving there. What do you think about, Argentina's long-term prospects? And do you have any insight? You're like on the US kind of we're turning banana republic, because a lot of people right now, the warning lights are flashing, and people that said they would never move are, messaging me right now, and they're like, hey, where should I go? What are the options available to me? And I'm, kind of breaking it down. And I usually recommend like a Paraguay, because it's like cheap, easy, a Panama. I told anyone to listen to me, Buenos Aires is one of the greatest cities and most underrated cities in the world I've ever been to. And I don't know why, but like when I was in Paraguay and these other countries, right? Everyone was talking like, oh, it's dangerous. Like it was never had any problems in Buenos Aires. I thought it was great. And the reason I haven't steered people towards like Buenos Aires, like in Argentina, is like you actually have to live there, to get the residency and stuff. Now, what do you think the prospects long term for Argentina is, and what would you give any recommendations to like people thinking about coming down to the country to move, like digital nomads?
Okay, I can make some advice. Maybe I agree at all with you that Buenos Aires is one of the best, for me. It's the best city in Latin America. It's called like the Paris of South America, and it's true. It's like you feel like in a European city. I mean, your experience, you can tell.
So it's the only city I've been to where you feel like you're in Europe. It's literally like Paris on the water and inexpensive. Like for if you have dollars.
Yeah, really, here's really cheap. I took Travis to the best pizzeria in Buenos Aires, and he said he couldn't believe the price.
What was the name of that place? Is Garin or?
Yeah, correct, Garin. It's in in the
So what
center.
advice would you give? Do you have any for people thinking about coming down and maybe being digital nomad and living there for 6 months and working on their residency?
Yeah, as I told you, Argentina is really cheap in dollars. You can live really. I mean, you can live really good with $2,000, right? Really good.
Yeah.
Maybe you have 3,000, 4,000. You are like a king here. But I'm not so optimistic in the future about the future. I mean, I return to the same point. Like the government, the politics here in Argentina are really suck. We have 40% of poorness. Poor people, and people are like with anesthesia. They want to revelate, but they don't know how. And I think the law, it's not clear here. I mean, you don't have clearness.
I've always thought like I've advised like on Paraguay and like Panama and stuff. They have really good property rights. It's a good long-term investment. But with the government, they're so crazy in Argentina. I'm like, hey, it'd be a good place, maybe be a digital nomad. But I'm like, and you see these cheap prices on condos and stuff like that. But I'm like, I wouldn't put hard-earned money into Argentina long term because you just don't know what's going to happen. But it's so sad because you guys have the best infrastructure, like such a great city. And it was like, if the currency ever got under control and you guys just had like a stable, normal government, that place would just, blow up because it's got first world infrastructure, culture, everything. You guys just have the currency problem and kind of crazy government.
Yeah, I always say that why the peso, Argentinian peso, it's like their value is decreasing all over the time. That's because it's printed by a politician, Argentinian politics. That's why it's crap. And that's why people try to go to the dollar because it has less inflation. But I mean, you already know that there has inflation.
Have a lot of the youth left Argentina because of the inflation? Because when I was in Miami for the Bitcoin conference, every server I talked to or met, they were all Argentinian. There was a ton of Argentinians in Miami.
Yeah, I mean, of course, is
the economy bad enough where people are leaving, or are people starting to come back and then they're staying because the economy is improving?
No. I mean, I think it's the opposite. People is getting out. Like they're leaving, because they're looking for a better future. That's why. Because as you said, the long term.
Yeah. Well, I post a lot of these videos on, TikTok and stuff like that. And I'm like, hey, if you're making 100 grand in the US and you come down to these countries, you're going to be living large. Your quality of life's going to go way up. Right. But a lot of people are like, oh, what job am I going to get for 100 grand down there? I'm like, you're not. You got to have a work remote job, earn dollars, and
Right.
then live there,
Right.
because, a lot of these countries, those opportunities don't exist. But if you can get a work remote and, you're online and you're living in Southern California and then you move to Buenos Aires, like you're 4 times richer automatically without increasing
Yeah.
anything, and your quality of life goes, way up in these regions. But yeah, that is the thing. Like, in Paraguay, like I've seen it, there's a lot of digital nomads and crypto bros. And, when Bitcoin and crypto got slaughtered, a lot of these guys lost a lot of money. And they're all looking for work kind of, and they're in Paraguay, and like there's nothing. You got to find something online remote, because their local economy isn't developed. There's not really the same opportunities you have back in the States. So I recommend you better have a work remote job when you go down to South America.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. We have here. We have a lot of digital nomads. Yeah,
You do have a lot
that's
of
true.
digital nomads in Buenos Aires.
Yeah, we have a lot. We have a lot. But people that, yes, as you said, works with their own computer and with a United States company or with Europe, and of course their money they earn is US dollars. So the life here, is
Now,
really good.
do you have withdrawal limits, and can you convert anything to dollars in your bank account?
No, we can't.
No
We can't.
conversion.
If I no, the official dollar, because here Argentina is really weird. Like it's crazy. For the audience to understand, we have a lot of rates of dollars. I mean, for each part of the economy. I mean, you have a dollar for the we say it with the for one industry. You have a dollar to export. You have another dollar for another. It's really chaos. It's a disorder, complete disorder. And for example, for me, if I want to buy dollars like with my pesos, I can buy $200 per month only in the bank. 200. And if I want to buy more, I have two options. I have to go to a cage. The cage.
Black
We
market.
got a black market. Yeah, that is not a black market. It's free
So
market.
what they call it, a blue market. The blue market. So
Yeah,
pretty much, if you're listening, I got scared. I was like, oh man, I'm going to be getting some dark alley exchanging, dollars for pesos. It's not like that. You go down Florida Street on Buenos Aires, which is all the shops are, and they'll have guys saying, cambio, and they'll take you to a little store and you'll exchange. And there was a grocery store across from a little mom and pop grocery store from where I stayed, in the Plaza de Armas area, and they just will exchange it. They'll have a little rate in the window and they'll exchange it there. So it's not sketchy at all. Everyone does it. And another recommendation, if you're going down there, they give you more for $100 bills than 10s, 20s, and 5s, right? So
yeah.
you get a better exchange rate. So you got to have, $100 bills if you want to.
And another recommendation: bring new dollars, like the blue
New
ones,
dollars.
not the old ones, because
Yeah.
they exchange you a lower rate. Yeah, but it's crazy. It's like an experience, for a tourist to go to for that black market.
Now, was I wrong when I was saying when I started off about the credit card? Because when you use your credit card, right, say at a restaurant, you're paying the government official rate.
Correct.
And there's a black market rate. Yeah, because I thought you were like rolling your eyes a little. Okay, I was just making sure, because when I got to Buenos Aires, I was starving. Everything was closed. It was night, and I hadn't exchanged any currency, and I used my credit card at the hotel restaurant, and I paid I just got hosed, right? And then I did the exchange, and I was going out to eat, and I'm like, I paid like 4 or 5, like I paid way more on the credit card. That's the first and only time I used my card. But it is weird though, because you get stacks of money and you're just walking around with wads of money in your cash, paying for everything.
Yeah.
You feel rich. Like I have pictures. I just have, one place didn't have, what's the highest note? 1,000 pesos. They were giving me like the hundreds. So I had just wads of money and I felt rich, but it was, it wasn't a lot of money.
It's like Monopoly money, Monopoly.
Pretty soon, everything's going to be, Monopoly money. And they're, SVB going under, like almost 200 banks are insolvent. What I think they're going to do is they're just going to guarantee all deposits in the United States, which is $10+ trillion. And then you're going to see inflation rip. And it'll be interesting because, like, even though real estate's like in a bubble, people have these locked in rates, and say, inflation goes 20, 30%, like all this debt, if you have debt, you're loving it because all this inflation is going to wipe out your debt. But the lower classes are going to be obliterated. And
sorry.
No, I'm go.
Okay, no, I discussed this with my friends. I say, okay, the world is like copying our model, Argentinian model now. Yeah, the inflation, it's increasing all over the world. The banks are like has a lot. They have a lot of debt, and we are like, as Argentinians, we say, okay, this I've already seen this. I know how it finishes. I know how it finishes. So we have like really good experience, and that is what I'm seeing now about all over the world, and what you said about SBB and Fed, like printing money now, the digital money with one click, ping, 3,000 million.
I think the Fed's just gonna nationalize all the banks, pretty much, is what's gonna happen. Now, I'm just thinking to myself, because some banks now in Panama are, because after the Panama Papers in Panama, the banks got really strict there. And like, I had to show so much information to get like a bank account set up, and they're really strict. It's harder than like an American. There's no money laundering in Panama. Like, it's the last place you want to do it. And now, like, I'm hearing stories like the banks are like, you don't even have to be a resident to open an account. And I'm like, they're just trying to get deposits in there. And it's kind of a warning flag to me, because I'm like, if these American banks are in trouble, I'm like, how these Panamanian banks got to be in deep trouble. And their economy, like, they had the second strictest lockdown after COVID in, Panama, and no one had to pay rent or mortgages for like 2+ years, and they never foreclosed on anyone. So all these buildings and property there are completely empty, and these banks are holding all these loans there. And it just, nothing there with their real estate and their bank, it makes no sense. If it doesn't make sense, there's something wrong. So I'm weary of that. They're like, oh yeah, you can open an account here. I'm like, who's putting money in a Panama bank right now? I was like, keep it in Bitcoin, gold, silver. I was like, if US banks can't even stay solvent, what are these Central and South American banks going to do?
That's why Bitcoin is an exit for me. I like to say that it's an emergency exit. I don't want to be a part of this system. I get out. And Bitcoin, fortunately, we have Bitcoin in our life.
If we didn't have Bitcoin, we'd be in a lot of trouble. And when you see the crap going on in the world, the government, what they're doing to people, Bitcoin is how you opt out of the system. And when you opt out, you're not financing it anymore. Unfortunately, I think like once Bitcoin rips above 100,000, it's probably going to get banned. The Bitcoin mining in the US is going to get banned. Elizabeth Warren just came out. She's running on an anti-crypto campaign. She says she's building an anti-crypto army. And what's going to happen is, like, she just posted something. She's like, she just blamed grocery stores for the 700% rise in eggs. It's complete financial literacy. Like, I don't even think she believes this. She's just, preaching to the lowest common denominator. And unfortunately, people have very little financial education in the United States, let alone the rest of the world. So people buy into this banter, and it's just toxic. And it's like, no one addresses the real issue of, hey, we've had no interest rates for 10+ years. The government's printing all this money, and we're bailing out every, entity and corporation, and there's consequences. And that money shows up in the food prices. the labor prices, everything. And they aren't addressing it. They're just blaming someone else. And that's why I think America is going to be in a lot of trouble, is because no one's got the balls to address the real problems in the country. And it's just going back and forth like a tennis game of like blaming the opposite side. And I think a lot of people are kind of like, hey, no one here represents me or my interests. And with the social media censorship and stuff, like it's hard for people to come together and communicate. And I see like TikTok is one of the few places like you can organically reach audiences and communicate with people, and the US government doesn't control it, right? So all these narratives that are, exposing them are blowing up on that social media platform. And now, they're trying to shut it down. And what are we going to go back to like Instagram? Like you can't communicate. It's just, it's going to be devastating for Americans if they get rid of TikTok, because I feel like we'll all be in the dark, I don't know.
The dark net.
The dark net.
But yeah, it's true. But that's demonstrates the important role of you, of me, like Luis, to communicate,
Yeah.
to give information to people. When I communicate or when I try to speak about Bitcoin, I don't want to like say, okay, you have to buy Bitcoin now because of this, that. No, I give you the information, and then you have the freedom to do whatever you want with that information. But like people here do not have the information, and that's really sad.
Well, that's what I was saying. You guys with your Spanish podcast, I'm like, there's no one doing this down there. Like most of the information, is being disseminated from the United States and all that, influencers and stuff. But like in Latin America, it's not as prevalent. And when I started operations and expanding, selling Bitcoin throughout Latin America, 1 in 4 Americans own, a cryptocurrency, where that number is way less. Like people have never even heard about crypto in countries I'm going to. So like I had to start from scratch, like educate, I'm like, hey, I'm just going to start selling. And I'm like, no one knows what I'm talking about. So I had to start educating people on what Bitcoin is and why you need it, because, that information's, not out there. And I think you guys keep at it with your Spanish versions of educating with Bitcoin, you're going to blow up. And right now it's the downtime. If you get all that content out there, when things turn around, all these people are looking to educate themselves and save themselves, and they'll find your guys' stuff. And I think it's going to help a lot of people out.
Yeah, I think it's the moment to build.
Stuff in the mainstream media, like no one's Jim Cramer, on Mad Money is not going to tell you about Bitcoin and why you need to own it and go against the system. You're not going to find this stuff in the news. You're going to, find it in alternate media.
Yeah, I think this is the moment to build. These bear markets are the moments to build, and then you can enjoy that the moment in bull markets. But there are a lot of, influencers talking about Web3, dApps, the DeFi, and when I first met Luis, we have the same ideology. We think that Bitcoin is neutral money, is a social construction, like money is, and it's too huge. Like you can't compare Bitcoin with a platform on DeFi. It's really big. We are fighting with governments. We are fighting with banks, and you are talking to me about DeFi and you understand.
There's only one Bitcoin. There's only one decentralized, asset. There's zero competition. Bitcoin's already won. But the problem is with crypto influencers and everything like that, no one's paying you from Bitcoin. There's no CEO, right? So people got to make money, and they make money with a lot of altcoins, scams, promoting, projects. And I do think I'm open-minded. I steer everyone to buy Bitcoin. I'm like, hey, this is what I know. This is how you can protect yourself. These other ones are highly speculative assets, but the future is like crypto. So like, companies, right now going public will go public on, New York Stock Exchange and raise money that way. You'll see, companies in the future going public through like a DAO, raising money, creating their own digital shares of their company, stuff like that. But those are unsecured, unregistered securities pretty much. And you're taking massive risks. So, because a lot of beginners follow us, right? So I'm like, hey, Bitcoin's the only, safe bet. Hey, if you want to gamble, these are what these other deals are. And crypto and the way people raise money, I think is going to, change a lot of stuff. But there's only one Bitcoin. There's no competition. Bitcoin Cash, all these other things have failed. And I've been outspoken against Ethereum. It sucks. It's a joke. I've tried selling it. Like people don't understand it. Like the gas fees on it, like you can't even sell it on a street level because the gas fees can fluctuate 10 to 20%. I've never used it in a function like to send, like use anything app. Like it's a chimera. Like what is it? Is it money? It's got too many things, moving parts. It's too complicated. It's run by someone and it can be shut down, right? And so you look at all these stable coins, they're very unstable, right? They all rely on these banks, which are going bankrupt in the US financial system, and they get cut off. They're worthless. But, the dirty secret is everyone in the crypto industry needs these stable coins to move money in and out, especially in Latin America, because the banks don't allow you to transfer money to exchanges. So you can't wire money from a Panamanian bank to Binance. So everyone's using USDT on the black market in these countries. So it's huge in these countries. Where in America, hey, you can just download Coinbase, transfer money from Bank of America and buy it. You can't do that in Latin America. And a lot of US and Australian people, they don't understand this. So USDT is wildly, popular in South and Latin America for people to move and be able to buy Bitcoin and move money from country to country. Because just you want to transfer $100,000 from Argentina to Paraguay, like how do you even do? Like the banks are horrific, so people are just using USDT in the black market there.
Yeah, imagine if you want to transfer money international. Like I have my own uncle lives in US. If I want to transfer dollars to him, that's impossible mission,
Yeah.
But with Bitcoin, with Lightning Network, like with USDT, I like USDT, of course, not to store value in USDT, but I mean, here in Argentina we use it a lot. It's too easy. Like you transfer. That's for me, it's revolutionary. You transfer to the US, to Australia, to Panama in 10 minutes, and with Lightning Network. Instantaneously, it's instantaneous.
Well, I had an affiliate marketing program where people would go out and repost my videos and do stuff like that, and it was kind of a way for I can involve people in my Telegram group, the Bitcoin Latin America Telegram group, and it was like I'd send $5 Bitcoin payments to all these people all over the world, and it was like, how else could I send $5 to people on 3 different continents? Like it was just press a button. It's so easy. Like how else, they have to like at Venmo, they have to have accounts over it. Like it's crazy how you can transfer, value. And I just had a deal where I got a larger than normal, payment through PayPal, and PayPal said, oh, this is larger than your normal volume. We're going to hold this money for 21 days. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. 21 days. And I needed this to buy product and do stuff. And I'm like, this is my money. The person's not complaining. Like they're paying for good. 21 days they held my money just to be safe. I'm like, with no complaint, they just decided to do it. And I'm like, your money is really not your money in the financial system. The only thing that money can be sent without a third party is freaking Bitcoin. And I think as these banks start going under and people start losing their money to bail-ins and stuff like that, there's going to be a panic into Bitcoin, I believe, very shortly. And it's going to rip.
Yeah. And, like these technologies, like they are like it's vertically, the adoption, like it's from one, like happened with internet, internet in the 2000.
If you look at the chart and like the adoption of Facebook and stuff like that, it's in the internet, it's the same pattern, and it's extremely volatile, just like the adoption of Facebook and everything is. And you see these huge drops in prices because it's unregulated, right? So all these exchanges are allowing 100-to-1 leverage, and that's why you see these huge downturns and swings up, because there's wild, speculation on these exchanges, right? And unfortunately, most people aren't saving it and using it as it's supposed to. They're speculating on it, and I don't blame them, because a lot of people, the jobs aren't out there, and everyone's online trying to trade to make money right now. No one wants to go into the office. Now, let's talk about Bitcoin price predictions. Do you think we're going to start moving up right now and we're back in the bull market, or do you think we're going to crash with the banks and stuff, and then it's going to rip? Because there's some saying we could decouple right now and it just starts going up while everything's going down, or it's like, it's still such a speculative asset. Do you think it's going to go down with these pan sell-offs?
Yeah. I always say the same. I think the price of Bitcoin, like, secondary, is the first.
I know, but just people.
Yeah, to play. Of course. Well, when SBB, the bank, crashed, the price of Bitcoin increased. Goes up, and we are like now we are seeing the dollar decreasing and the Bitcoin increasing its price. I think we have, like, after the halving, I think the audience know, but the halving is something that happens each 4 years, that the Bitcoin that are, like, not printed, but the miners gain the half of the Bitcoin that are now. For example, now the miners each 10 minutes they earn 6.25 Bitcoins, and in 2024 there will gonna be 3 point. Okay, it's the half. It's the supply to half. But I think after the halving 2024, I think we are going to have a new bull run, and but that's because if you see the history, it always happened, Maybe it could not.
Yeah,
but
I think we're about to rip right now. And I just talked to a lot of people that have been buying Bitcoin, and they see what's happening with the banks, and they got a lot of cash right now, and I think they see why Bitcoin's such a big investment, and they just see people like Michael Saylor who's just stocking up on Bitcoin right now. He's not listening to anything. They just bought 1,000 more Bitcoin. They're at MicroStrategies is at 140,000 Bitcoin. They've been buying the whole entire downturn. And these corporations like Apple, which are just sitting on all of this cash, what are they going to do? Buy gold? They're going to have to. And, you're laughing now, but MicroStrategies in a couple years is going to buy big companies. They're just going to they're going to have all this cash. They're going to go out and just start acquiring people.
Yeah,
and
Michael,
you're not
let
gonna
us buy Bitcoin.
Those guys are so freaking competitive. They're not going to sit around and let their fortunes go down with the United States. They're going to be getting into Bitcoin, and I think there's a lot of big people, but they won't publicly say it. They don't want to drive the price up while they're accumulating, low. And unfortunately, there's just so much horrible information out there, and the general public is just going to wake up one day and they're going to go to the grocery store next year, and it's going to be $500 or $600 to go shopping for a family of 4, and they're not going to know why. And you're going to have Elizabeth Warren on the TV saying it's the greedy grocery stores, and and blame someone else, blame Russia, blame the Republicans or whatever, and it's people are going to get wiped out. You got to get in now on these assets. And you might get caught off from buying it. So like I did an article the other day. Banks in the UK now are starting to say, oh, we're capping the amount you can transfer to these crypto exchanges to protect you from possible fraud. So, when I think the panic hits and the banks start going, what are you going to do? People are going to try to transfer that money to crypto, exchanges and just start buying as much Bitcoin as they can get out of the banking system. And what the banks are going to do is they're going to be like, oh, you can only send $1,000 a day to this site just to protect you. And that's why I'm like, if you want to make big purchases and stuff right now, now's the time, because you could get capped in the near-term future on the amount of Bitcoin that they're going to willingly let you send to these exchanges.
Yeah. Many people said to me that the opportunity now is asymmetric, like the chance or the opportunity to earn a lot of money is not the objective, but that opportunity
protect yourself.
To protect yourself. But imagine that 1%, 2%, 3% of the world is on Bitcoin only. So you have a massive, imagine 10% of the people of the world, getting into Bitcoin. It's the price. Imagine the price.
Yeah.
And I think the best marketing for Bitcoin are the governments, are the banks. It's the fiat system. It's the best marketing. So we have to wait.
Yeah. Well, at 220,000 Bitcoin, if that price, that matches the market cap of gold. So like a lot of people, smarter than I am, put the price target on that in the future, because if it matches the gold market cap, it's $220,000 a Bitcoin, which I definitely see this happening. The big problem I see is Western governments banning Bitcoin. They will just say it's tax evasion, money laundering, financing terrorism, and the Bitcoin mining is killing the environment, the ESG. And, so that's why, if you're a big crypto or Bitcoin investor, I was like, you got to get a plan B or get a residency outside the US, because this crackdown is coming. Like, don't be naive. Like, when these politicians like Elizabeth Warren come out, they say they're going to do it, take them at their word. And, and what I think is going to happen is not everyone's going to go along with it. Like, the US bans Bitcoin. Other countries are going to adopt it and allow it to happen, like El Salvador, and people are going to move there. Talent are going to move to these countries like El Salvador. They're going to build great businesses, great communities, and great ecosystems, and wealth and, knowledge is going to transfer into these areas that are going to allow for Bitcoin adoption to happen. And these countries that don't are just going to kind of like choke themselves off,
That's why imagine Argentina.
Now, is there any way ever like Argentina would adopt Bitcoin, or
Well, now we have
and is there regulations on Bitcoin in Argentina?
Yeah, but it's at the same time, it's very easy to buy Bitcoin here in Argentina. You don't have any problem to transfer money. I mean, if you have your bank account to an exchange, an Argentinian exchange, you buy Bitcoin, and it's too easy. Of course, you have the regulators like watching your transaction, how much you earn per month. I mean, that's like all the combo complete. But it's too easy. I always recommend to buy peer-to-peer, like to protect your privacy and not to be so exposed. But now, for example, in Argentina, we have the elections in August and then in October, and there's a candidate that it's liberal. Like he
wants to print more money.
Sorry.
He wants to print more money?
No, the opposite. He likes the Austrian economics. He's Austrian, like he likes that part of the economy, and he wants to shut down the central bank, and he wants to here we say dolarizar la economía. It means to get into the dollar. The economy Argentina, he wants to get into the dollar. I don't know how it will work, but this guy also likes Bitcoin. He spoke about Bitcoin, and maybe, I don't know, maybe the miracle happened.
No, that's interesting. It's just if Argentina could get its currency under control and be more stable, it would just explode because it has the recipe with the infrastructure, the culture, and everything. Where like it would just be a world class destination. I think.
And the law all over the country. We have a massive country, the south, the Patagonia. It's beautiful. Imagine Switzerland, but in Latin America, the north of Argentina, with all that mountains. The people,
it's beautiful. Well, when I went there, I went and checked out some of Athena's Bitcoin ATMs in Buenos Aires. And they're all pretty like dead. And like what I was noticing like on the machines is like you can't use dollars with the machines, right? So they have to use the peso. And I'm pretty sure they have to use the government rate. So I'm like, so what they did was like the store had it, and then they kind of used it to advertise, and then people come in and just exchange with the store, right? Because if you're using the government rate, you're getting hosed, right? Maybe some few foreigners were using the machine, but if they had a Bitcoin ATM that allowed dollar withdrawals to be popular, but I think the government would come in and see.
But that's a problem. Yeah, as I told you, you cannot buy more than $200 per month, official rate from the government. So yeah, the control here, it's massive. The government wants to control everything, and it's not here. That's why I repeat this 1, 2, 3 times. But Bitcoin is neutral money. It's neutral money, and that's the money we need. We need a money that no one can print. No one can say, okay, I will save that bank. Click 300 millions. No, we need to return to the basis of the gold pattern, the gold, but the good age, and Bitcoin is even better than gold. So we have that. It's a miracle.
I think we'll still have like fiat currencies and stuff, but I just think everything's based off the dollar right now, which is a devaluing currency. So it's making all the other currencies, unstable. But what I think will happen is, Bitcoin will be the new gold standard, and everyone will still have their local currencies, but your, ratio exchange rate will be based off of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin will be the unit of measure for all these countries' exchange rates, and then it's equal. And right now it's like the dollar is bringing down the whole global financial system. And I think like 80% of all trades in dollars. And if the US collapses or goes under, it's going to be the dark ages. We've never had a world reserve currency used on a level like the dollar, and you look at like what happened with the Roman Empire, it was just that region, and it was all gold and silver got devalued. Like we truly have a global currency that everyone's using that's getting in trouble, and it's destabilizing the whole monetary system right now. And back in the 2009 financial crisis, right, like no one was at war, everyone was on the same page, so we were able to just make up all this money. We did all these secret swaps with Europe, gave them all this cash that people still don't even know about today, just to bail out them, because they're our allies, and everyone was on the same page. Everyone wanted a functioning economy and didn't want, economic collapse. Now we are entering, nothing's been changed. All the same actors, all the same banks are still in place, same bad guys, and it's happening again. But now we're indirectly with war with Russia. We're testing China right now, and they're not going to go along with the script. And I think you're going to have a multipolar world where you're not going to have this global bailout and everyone's on, the same page. And there was a document that was released where, in the depths of the 2009 financial crisis, Russia reached out to China and was like, hey, why don't we both dump US treasuries together? And China said no, because the value of our holdings would collapse. It would be against our interests. And I think, now with how bad things are getting geopolitically, if something like that happens again, I don't know if they would say no. I think they might join Russia, kind of dump treasuries and, come out with some other product.
I think that, no, I think that, as you said, if we see dollar collapsing, that's a possibility. That's not free. I mean, that generates, like, it will bring chaos. It will bring many people. Maybe they will, like, be dead. Will be killed.
Yeah.
It's not free. I mean, I suffered, in first person. I mean, in 2001, I was a child, but I felt how my family, how they suffered a lot, with the crisis. I mean, I want to say this, that it's not free. Of course, we have Bitcoin. Like, this is the opportunity. This how we have Bitcoin. That's a miracle, and we have to understand how Bitcoin works. And Satoshi Nakamoto bring us, like, neutral money, and that's will allow us to live in a better world. Like lately, Travis, I'm running out of battery. If you want, we can make a stop, or we can finish. But that's
we'll
2%.
wrap this
Sorry,
up.
it's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault.
I thank you for the time, Adriano. It was great. And I'm making another trip down to South America probably next month, and we'll have to grab some pizza again.
The next one, you can invite Luis and me, and we can be both in your show, of course.
Oh, totally. All right. Well, thank you for the time, Adriano. Adios.
It was a pleasure, Travis. Thank you.
Have a good one.